in a world where cinema reigns supreme. Join us on an epic journey through the silver screen. Welcome to What's New with Stu, a movie review, with your host Dave Stewart, a video podcast where every frame tells a story. Get ready for insights, laughs, and film debates. From blockbusters to hidden gems, we've got it all covered. Lights, camera, action. It's time for What's New with Stu, a movie review. And now your host, David F. Stewart.
Why kill us now? We're the best commando you've had.
Did I say kill?
We both know what we're saying.
We don't kill people. We don't? We put them in the rooms, walk them in and strip them. Look them in the face and say it's safe. What the hell is that?
And to live isn't to kill, Herr Oberscharführer, because we are not doing the killing.
In the immortal words of the late great Benny Hill. Good evening, viewers. Good evening, all. Welcome to another episode of What's New with Stu, a movie review. I'm your host, Dave Stewart. And in this episode, we're going to take on one of the darkest chapters in the history of humankind, and definitely in the history of films. And that is 2001's The Gray Zone, directed by Tim Blake Nelson, starring David Arquette, Mira Sorvino, Harvey Keitel, Steve Buscemi, and a whole cast of others that did an incredible job of recreating what was called the Sonderkommandos. These were the Jews that were basically forced into a situation. These prisoners were made to assist the camp's guards in shepherding their victims to the gas chambers and then disposing of their bodies in the ovens. Based on actual events, The Gray Zone is the staggeringly powerful story of Auschwitz's 12th Sonderkommando, one of the 13 consecutive special squads of Jewish prisoners placed by the Nazis in the excruciating moral dilemma of helping to exterminate fellow Jews in exchange for a few more months of life. From inside the working organs of the infamous Auschwitz death camp, it is based on the book Auschwitz, a doctor's eyewitness account written by Dr. Miklos Nizels. This film asks to what terrible lengths we are willing to go to save our own lives. Now, historically speaking, films about the Holocaust have not done very well at the box office, or even in general of people viewing it, because of obviously the depressing nature of the subject matter, okay? There are some people that feel you can't even film a movie about such a thing. Shoah, the great documentary, which was 9 hours long, was one of the greatest films ever made about the Holocaust experience by interviewing the survivors and the people that actually ran the camps. But some people would say a fictional version is impossible. Now, Steven Spielberg was able to make what is probably the most successful Holocaust film in terms of making money. And of course, by the way, that money was all donated to the Holocaust Museum and other outlets. He didn't make a dime off any of it. And that, of course, was the classic Schindler's List made in 1993. And that was probably the first time that people were able to go and sit there for 3 hours plus and watch an incredible movie about what had happened during the Holocaust and to the Jewish people. 6 million people were eliminated. They were killed and their bodies disposed of. It's one of the darkest chapters in the history of humankind, as I said, and it's hard to believe that it happened. I mean, you're talking about from 1939 to 1945. It's really unbelievable. But most films weren't successful. Spielberg was able to make a successful film. And a part of the reason most Holocaust films aren't successful, of course, is the ending. Obviously, there was no positivity in the way most stories ended. Now, Schindler's List was the exception, or one of the exceptions, because Schindler was able to save over 1,000 people. And of course, at the end of the Schindler's List, when they say these are the 4,000 descendants, as they're basically walking over and placing a stone at his gravesite, it's a powerful moment. You're crying.
I could have gotten more.
Oscar, there are 1,100 people who are alive because of you. Look at them.
Could have gone one more person. And I didn't. I didn't.
And at least there's some hope. And there have been other films like Life is Beautiful, which are trying to present some kind of hope at the end of a Holocaust film. But The Gray Zone, I'm not going to lie to you, is the exception. I'm not going to tell you the ending, but I'm going to tell you right now, it is a tough movie to get through. But it's one of the most powerful films, and it's a film that should be watched, because believe it or not, there are many people, even now, that will deny the Holocaust ever took place. There was a doctor that worked for Dr. Joseph Mengele, the famous Nazi doctor who would experiment on a lot of the people that were brought to the concentration camps, including, he had this thing about twins and experimented on them. And this doctor who was Jewish worked for him, and he survived the war, by the way, and I think he got his family saved too, because of the fact that Mengele thought so much of him that he was able to spare his life. And a lot of the account of the gray zone is from his perspective and also from other survivors. The Sonderkommandos, I can't even begin to understand what that must have been like to have a position in the concentration camp where, because you're giving a few more months to live, better food, more privileges, responsibility is to basically cremate the bodies and get rid of the ashes. The Nazis, of course, would have the Jewish people think they're going in to have a shower, and of course they would release the Zyklon B gas, kill them, and then it was up to the Sonderkommandos to remove the bodies. When I was younger, I had no idea about this. I don't think a lot of people do. They just thought the Nazis did everything. They didn't. They didn't want to get their hands dirty with that. Okay? They would shoot people that didn't listen, and obviously order them to the gas chambers. But other than that, the Jewish people had to dispose of the bodies. This film is a very, very interesting, thought-provoking look at what you would do to survive.
You're all fine. The quicker you get undressed, the quicker you'll be clean, settled, and reunited with your family.
Filthy liar.
Remember the number of the hook you hang your clothes on.
He's a liar. I can't believe it's Jews doing this.
Like I said, this film is a very dark film, but there's hope. Something happens in the movie where a girl survives the gassing. They surmise that because she was on the bottom, there was an air pocket. And one of the Sonderkommandos, played by David Arquette, best known for playing Dewey, the goofy cop in the Scream movies, who was once married to Courtney Cox, who is very good in this film, in a serious drama. He finds her, and he convinces the others who don't want to at first, the other fellow Sonderkommandos, to save her. And that's the second half of the film, where their goal, and they get the doctor involved, who's based, again, on a real doctor, to try to help save this girl. And by the way, this did happen, according to the doctor's reports, because he was there. And again, it's a fictionalized combination of a couple of things that really happened in Auschwitz. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon, so you're guaranteed not to miss any future updates of any podcast I have coming out. The thing about this film is, what would you do to survive? David Arquette has a scene when he's talking to the girl after they bring her back because she's near death. They get her back, and she doesn't speak. She's listening to him, and she is really, I think, represents us. He's talking to us as an audience through her.
I used to think so much of myself. What I'd make of my life. We can't know what we're capable of, any of us. How can you know what you do to stay alive until you're really asked?
You would think, oh, the hell with the Nazis, F them, I'm not going to do what they want, I'd rather die first. And there are probably people that did that, but there are many others that probably said, I want to live. If anything, I want to survive for revenge against these guys. If I do survive, and I'm going to do everything to fight every day to get out of here. Every 4 months, they would be killed, and they would bring in a whole new regiment, a special unit, as they would call the Sonderkommandos, to continue the work. They want to plan to blow up one of the crematoriums, which did happen in real life. And again, it's a combination of the doctor's story with the girl that survived the gassing and their attempt to blow up one of the crematoriums. It is unbelievably powerful. It has more of what probably it was like to live in those camps. Not that Schindler's List didn't do that, but of course a lot of Schindler's List was told from Oskar Schindler's point of view, and he had a life of luxury. This film just really shows everything from the Jewish perspective. Now, the one German that they do show in the film, played by the great American actor Harvey Keitel, and some people didn't like his accent in this film. I thought he was great.
I never fully despised the Jews until I experienced how easily they could be persuaded to do the work here, to do it so well, and to their own people. They'll be dead by week's end, every soul, and we'll replace them with others no different. Do you know how easy that'll be?
Him and the doctor have a very interesting relationship. as the doctor tries to convince Keitel because he discovers the girl, you help me save the girl, and I'll give you information maybe about, because he knows about the attempt to blow up the crematorium, because there's been rumors going around and Keitel's trying to get information. Mira Sorvino is unrecognizable in this role. She's only on for a few minutes. Again, David Arquette is great. And there are some actors, one in particular, he's so convincingly real. He convinced me that he was there in Auschwitz in 44. This actor is so convincing in this role. And there's a scene where him and the doctor, where they talk about what's going to happen after the war, and he tries to tell him that basically he's dead already.
I do not wish to be alive when all of this is over.
That he wants to die. He doesn't even want to live. Because the thing about this movie is, but what would you do to survive? And then after you survive, you have to live almost with the guilt of what you did for the Germans to survive, and then the fact that a lot of people didn't survive and you witnessed it and you move on the rest of your life. It's unbelievable. It's something that none of us will ever be able to relate to, thank God, and hopefully never will. One of the reasons this film was not a hit when it came out, it literally was released right after 9/11 happened in 2001, and it just didn't have a chance. I'm sure it went to the independent film festivals and Sundance or whatever. It got a lot of praise, but because of 9/11, it just, I guess, especially with the subject matter, I don't think people were interested. I mean, again, Holocaust films are tough enough as it is, especially this one to watch. But after 9/11, nobody wanted to see probably something so dark. This is one of those films that most people I've talked to have never seen. They've seen Life is Beautiful, Schindler's List. There's a movie called The Survivor on HBO about a true story about a guy that had a box while he was in concentration camps to survive. But a lot of these films have hope. But this film, I'm going to be honest with you, does not really have hope. There's a little hope with the girl. I won't tell you what happens at the end.
The first part of me rises in dense smoke that mingles with the smoke of others. Then there are the bones which settle in ash, and these are swept up to be carried to the river. Bits of our dust that simply float there in air.
The Gray Zone, incredibly thought-provoking, just an incredible movie. I highly recommend seeing it again if you could bear sitting through it. And it's not easy, but as they say, we will never forget a reality. Because right now, every day that goes by, many witnesses to the Holocaust are passing away. And eventually there won't be anybody left. And that's why you have to record, even in a fictional sense, so it won't happen again for future generations, to learn from the mistakes of the past. And again, in the immortal words of the late great Benny Hill, good night, viewers. Good night, all. We'll see you next time, and we'll see you at the movies.